All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Drawing and Balling. I know you're ready for Tony's voice and not ready for my voice because that's usually how things run. But it's been a while since we did a Jeopardy, and we said, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. And I know my board was ready, also won last time, so I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and host this one, give Joe a little bit of a break, and give Tony a chance to go redeem himself on this fine Wednesday night. So, without any further ado, we are into the Jeopardy board. And that pulls up. Can you guys see the board?
No.
Not yet.
There we go. Tony, you're my
Technology's
friend. I'm going to crush you like the bug you look like, which is a beautiful, handsome beetle, by the way.
Aw. I figured like praying mantis, like the big buggy eyes, but then the like long limbs.
All right, let's cut that out.
Well, too late for that. We are just a touch live at the moment. So, as you can see on the board right now, general NFL is one of our topics. We also have sports get social, which is social media references from sports athletes, QBs, NBA lyrics. So there are songs with references to NBA athletes. And don't worry, they're very much in the song. There's a lot of clues in there. I didn't leave y'all high and dry. And then we have non-quarterbacks, so the answers will be all non-quarterbacks. Last time we did the early bird gets the worm, gets to go first. This time everyone was here at the same time. So I got a coin in my hand. Who would like to call? All right, it seems like Tony is going to get a call. So Tony, what's your call, my brother?
In the famous words of Randy Moss, you always got to pick tails because
All right.
Madden PS2, you got to pick tails.
That was
Tails
also
never
Will
fails.
Chamberlain's slogan, by the way.
Was it?
Well, Tails has failed tonight. It is heads. So Joe will get control of the board to start us off. So Joe, go ahead, get us started.
I'm going to take general NFL for 100, please.
All right. So this team has the most Super Bowl appearances.
Who are the New England Patriots?
Let's see if that one is correct. There you go. So Joe gets us started with a quick 100.
Same
right,
category,
where we going
200.
next?
Same
Okay.
category, 200, please.
I have a feeling this one's going to go all the way down the row. This defensive player for the Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl MVP.
Oh, man. God, was it Bobby Wagner?
That is incorrect.
Ooh.
It moves to you, Tony.
Who is Malcolm Smith?
There you go. Tony takes control of the
Right.
board with that answer.
Good
Joe
answer.
moved into the negatives.
I'll be honest, I only knew that because he signed with Dallas, and that's the
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's a former Super Bowl defensive MVP. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
All right. Well, Tony, you control the board.
Hey, you know what? Let's do general NFL 300.
I had a feeling this would be the first board that we get done. The year the NFL draft was first televised live.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm gonna pass because I have no clue.
All right, Joe, it's up to you.
I'm going to say 1978.
Just missed it. Just a touch early on this one. It was 1980. So board stays in the hands of Tony.
General NFL 400.
This player was taken 41st overall by the Minnesota Vikings in the 2017 NFL draft.
Yeah, I'm
It's a
gonna
little
have
bit
to
more
pass.
abstract.
I think I have an idea, but I'm gonna pass because I feel like it's gonna be wrong.
Well, still, that's the great thing about being ahead. Joe,
Wow.
who do you have for us at 41?
Fifth year option. God, I'm gonna throw a name out here because I don't think he worked very well. Was it Laquan Treadwell?
Well, y'all are going to be kicking yourself. It was Dalvin
Dalvin
Cook.
I'm such an idiot.
Because I thought
I'm
so.
such an
Because I
idiot.
remember he got hurt. He got hurt at Florida State, and that dropped him out. And I was like,
Yes.
I didn't think they
People were
took
talking
him.
about him as the best back that year, and
Yeah.
now down. So, Tony, it
All right.
stays with you.
Let's close out the category. General NFL 500.
All right, 500. The only player to win the Comeback Player of the Year award multiple times.
Ooh. Comeback Player of the Year multiple times. You know what, I'm just gonna go for a guess because I feel like once I don't, I'm just gonna regret it. I'm gonna say J.J. Watt for giggles.
That is incorrect, sir. Joe, it moves to you.
Is it Alex Smith?
That is also incorrect. It
I
was
thought you
Chad
were gonna-
Pennington.
Oh,
Chad
for the Jets and the
Pennington.
Dolphins. Oh,
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
okay.
Chad Pennington. All right, Tony,
I
it
was
stays
thinking of
with
my
you.
other mid-sized white quarterbacks that people love. Darn it.
Right. Let's do non-quarterbacks for 300.
All right, we got non-quarterbacks for 300. Joe is currently in the lead with minus 100. This non-QB was the number 1 overall pick in 2006.
Ooh, okay. I think I know it. You know what? Screw it. Mario Williams for the Texans.
And he's back in the positives.
Wow.
There you go, Tony.
Great
The
pull.
shot in the dark. All right, Tony, keep it going.
Let's do non-quarterbacks for 200.
All right, same category, 200. This non-quarterback won the NFL MVP award in 2012.
Who is Adrian Peterson?
And he's starting to get on a roll here with the non-quarterbacks. He found his category, and that is absolutely correct. It was Adrian Peterson as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Tony, keep it going.
Let's do non-QBs for 100.
This non-quarterback won the Super Bowl MVP award for Super Bowl 56. I know you got to reach back in your memory bank for this one.
Oh, I know. Cooper Kupp.
There you go. I think Joe is now kicking himself for not picking this category 100 to start us off.
Not gonna lie, with Mario Williams, I was struggling with that one.
I had to look back. I was like, wait, who? That might be like the only player I can think of.
All right, Tony. Board's still yours.
Non-QBs for 400.
This non-quarterback has the most Super Bowl wins. So this in terms of non-QBs.
Non-QBs has the most Super Bowl wins. Who is Charles Haley?
Ding, ding, ding. And he keeps running up the score here.
I knew that one. I was hoping you wouldn't get it.
It was a Cowboy. I figured Tony would have this one in the back.
Oh, yeah.
He's
With the Niners and Dallas both. And
Yep.
let's close out that category at 500.
All right. This is how I figured the board would go. This was the first non-QB to throw a passing touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Ooh. First non-QB. I think I know who, but I'm going to pass to Joe. But
All right, Joe, chance to take the board.
Was it Hines Ward?
It was not Hines Ward.
Was it Burton?
No, it was
Robert
Robert Newhouse. He played for the Dallas Cowboys. This was back in the late 70s. He threw this touchdown pass.
Okay.
I tried to mix up where, the decades, so it wasn't all Spooner based. All right. Well, Tony, it stays with you.
Well, let's do NBA lyrics for 400.
He starts with the 400s. So know when I'm done with these songs, you're going to miss me. This NBA player, I'm on my Grizzly. It's My Life by J. Cole.
Pass. Pass.
All right, Joe.
I don't know how old this song is, but I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say Ja Morant.
And Joe takes control of the board. I'm on my Grizzly. That was the one I was hoping you guys would look at.
There you go.
Joe, where'd you
There
like to go?
I'm going to go NBA lyrics 500, please.
Oh, he's taking the big one. Don't move like a puto. Could at least keep it a buck like this NBA player. 7 a.m. on the Bridal Path by Drake.
Who is Giannis Antetokounmpo?
There you go. And with that, Joe reclaims the lead, leading 800 to 700. Joe.
Keep it NBA lyrics 300, please.
Catch me because I'm going out of there. I'm gone. How I go from 6 to 23 like I'm this NBA player. Nonstop by Drake.
Who is LeBron James?
There you go. And Joe continues this run. See, I told you these weren't that bad. I felt pretty generous when I was giving this one out.
Well, good, because we didn't know Newhouse for non-QB. So, all right, give me NBA lyrics for 200, please.
Kill him on a song, walk up out the booth, do this player, rock a baby. Amari by J. Cole.
I want to say, is it Russell Westbrook?
On a roll, and it keeps going. It was Russell Westbrook.
All right.
Joe moves into 1300s now, putting himself with quite a lead ahead of Tony.
Let's go ahead and finish NBA lyrics for 100, please.
All right. For 100, I've been blank with the shot, been cooking with the sauce, chef blank with the pot, boy 0 to 100, the ketchup by Drake.
Who is Stephen, not Stephen Curry.
There you go. And Joe basically takes the whole category and runs with it, giving himself a 700-point lead over Tony. Joe, where'd you like to go next?
Give me QBs for 500, please.
QBs for 500. The only QB to win a Super Bowl wearing the number 17.
17. I'm going to take a stab in the dark. I'm pretty sure this is wrong. I'm going to lose money. Is it Jeff Hostetler?
That is incorrect, sir. Tony, it moves to you.
Williams for the Washington Commanders.
Ding, ding, ding. Doug Williams is the correct answer. And with that one, Tony retakes the lead and retakes the board. Tony, where would you like to go?
Talking about. Let's do quarterbacks for 300.
Quarterbacks for 300. Keeping in the same category, Todd Blackledge was picked by the Kansas City Chiefs in 1983 out of this university.
I'm going to pass this to my my boomer here since he was.
No, that's
probably...
exactly. You said it right the first time. That's exactly what you did. That's what you did. I mean, I can't lose anything by guessing, so I'm going to guess Todd Blackledge. Was that Texas Tech University?
It was not. It was a Big Ten university, Penn State.
Penn State.
So, Tony,
in my defense, I hate them, so I shouldn't know who their quarterback is.
You know what? Let's do sports get social for 200. We're gonna break the category.
Sports get social for 200. First change up in category. These two players posted the last dance photos on their social media stories ahead of the 2021 NFL season.
Yeah, nope.
Do you pass?
Pass. Yeah.
Oh, no way. This is a joke.
No, I legit don't.
Tony, this was for you. Oh, my goodness. Joe,
for
take it
me.
away.
I would like to answer the question with the former wide receiver of the Green Bay Packers, Devontae Adams, along with their current quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
And there it is.
Are they really? Oh my God. Yeah, I would have.
And Joe reclaims the board. Tony keeps the lead. Joe, you have the board.
Give me sports get social for 100. I can't. Oh man,
I can't believe. I was like this. I was praying Tony got that one. That's the one I wanted Tony.
Wait,
to have.
So you're rooting for Tony? I think there's a little bit.
No. When I wrote the questions, that one was specifically for Tony. All right. This former QB just joined Instagram in March 2022. In fact, right on his birthday.
I'm gonna pass. I'm not. I have like 3 guesses, and I'm gonna pass.
All right, Tony, chance to control the board.
I mean, I know Eli finally joined the Twitter bandwagon, but that was a little bit past that. I'm trying to think of a quarterback that had a March birthday. Yeah, I have no idea.
All right. Well, the answer was the sheriff, Peyton Manning. He joined Instagram on his birthday.
I almost said that too, and I didn't. That's all right.
Yeah. All right. Well,
how about
Joe, you keep the
QBs
board?
QBs for 100?
QBs for 100. Back to the other category. This player played in the USFL on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers.
Who is Hall of Famer Steve Young?
Ding, ding, ding. There you go. And Joe ties the lead with Tony with that one, both sitting at 1,200. So, Joe, where'd you like to go?
Give me Sports Get Social for 300, please.
Jumping categories now. This former QB joined Twitter on March 2019.
Wow.
Listen.
I mean, I'm gonna feel like an idiot doing this. Is it Eli Manning?
That is incorrect.
What?
So like,
Tony.
okay, so I just Tony's answer, and lost.
Screw it. We'll say Peyton Manning twice. I don't know. Can't read anything.
That one is also incorrect. It was the GOAT. It was Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr.
Really?
Yeah, March 2019. He joined the
Wow.
Twitterverse. So, Joe, you
ago.
retained the board. But
You kids in your social media. Give me Sports Get Social for 400, please.
Gonna keep with the same category here. In response to a tweet saying the door is open in KC, this NFL wide receiver was tagged and retweeted, better close it, heard it gets cold at night. This happened in 2022, by the way.
I hope so. Because
this happened in 2022.
Wow. I mean, stab in the dark just because I don't want to win the cheap way. I'm going to say Odell Beckham Jr.
That is incorrect. Tony, goes to you.
Tyreek.
That is also incorrect. It was DK Metcalf. This
Metcalf.
came following the trade of Tyreek Hill to the Miami Dolphins. All right, Joe, you retain the board, but you are down 700 here.
I mean, all right, I'll give myself a chance. QBs for 200.
All right, goes QBs for 200. This QB is known as the greatest Canadian football player ever. He has also played for the Chicago Bears, the Buffalo Bills, and the New England Patriots.
Who is Doug Flutie?
And just like that, he's back in the game, 700 points. For Joe, he's now down 500.
Give me QBs for 400.
QBs for 400. If you get this right, it'll put you 100 behind Tony. The Rams lost Super Bowl 36. The next year, Kurt Warner breaks his finger, and after an 0-5 start, the team turns to this man.
Who is Mark Bulger?
That is correct. So, Joe, 100 behind. It's winner takes all pretty much. Joe's got to get it right. Otherwise, Tony gets it for 500. This former NFL tight end has the username on Twitter of Marty Saurus Rex.
I would like to go with former Dallas Cowboy and former New England Patriot, Martellus Bennett.
And Joe takes the game, sweeping the last 3 questions. What a run he went on to go from 0 to hero. Started at -100, ended up at 1,600 to beat Tony.
Oh, Tony, I'm really sorry. I'd like to thank the Academy. I'd like to thank all the little people, including the ASAP group. I'd like to thank all of the voters. And Freddie, keep my name out your mouth. So other than that, yeah, that's great.
I feel like the Lakers. Like I can't win more than one in a row. Just keep going 0-2. Just keep missing shots. Westbrooking it like nobody's business.
Man, Joe just went on that run. I didn't know if it was gonna happen. To be honest, I didn't know if it was gonna happen.
Oh. Well, Amon, that was so much fun. That was a blast. But last time when we played Jeopardy, we didn't have anything to talk about. But I'm pretty sure we want to finish out the hour, right?
Tony, I'll pass it over to you. Take it over.
Hey, it's your show, man. If you want to run it, you can run it.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, we do have some things we do want to go ahead and talk about tonight. Because you know what? What'd be fun? Just Jeopardy for 30 minutes. I know you want us for the entire hour that we have scheduled. So a big contract gets put out this morning. Stephon Diggs becomes another one of these 28, 29-year-old receivers to receive a big-time contract, a 4-year, $104 million deal. I believe $70 million of it was guaranteed from the Buffalo Bills. And basically the agreement was this would basically be Stephon Diggs' last contract. And at the culmination of it, he would retire as a Buffalo Bill. So, Joe, I'm going to start with you here. Is this something that's going to continue to happen for these younger receivers, or do you think this is just an anomaly of the group like Davante Adams, Hill, and Stephon Diggs now?
Well, I think there's this kind of it's a line of dichotomy because these guys aren't past their primes, but they are in the middle of their primes, which is a kind of a dangerous place to give out big money to players. We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen at quarterback. We've seen it happen with linemen and defensive players. Wide receivers is one of those positions that if a guy is not able to adapt as his career moves along, they can really fall off by the wayside. I guess the question is, when you look at the young receivers in the game, like Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, who isn't even – you can't even talk about an extension for like 2 more years. When you look at these guys, they're young. They have their whole careers ahead of them. These guys, Stephon Diggs was an all-pro 2 years ago. Last year, he was a Pro Bowler. He had some injuries. He had some concerns. What's his ceiling going to be? Davante Adams, what's he going to look like away from Aaron Rodgers? What's Tyreek Hill going to look like without Patrick Mahomes? I do think it's a little bit of a slippery slope investing this much money. I mean, we just saw the 3 highest wide receiver guarantees for long-term contracts handed out to guys who were 28, 28, and 29. Like, it's a little dangerous to me. I like Buffalo doing this. He has absolutely emerged himself into the Buffalo culture. They love him there. That's a great trade for both teams because Minnesota gets Justin Jefferson, Buffalo gets Diggs, and it's worked out great for everybody. But, I mean, that's a lot of money, man. I get the cap's going to jump up here in a few years. I get the new TV deal is going to push this, to numbers that we never even expected 5 years ago. But it's still a little concerning to me.
Yeah, I would agree. And in the sense that it's a lot of money to pay a receiver. And when I first heard the Davante Adams numbers, I was like, this is crazy. This is just for him, right? There's no way it happens to anyone else. And you see it happen to Tyreek Hill. Similarly, his contract gets jumped up. And then against Stephon Diggs. And I think for guys like DK Metcalf and Terry McLaurin that are kind of jumping in here, this is going to be something they point to and say, look, okay, you don't want to pay me 27, we'll pay me 23. And I think you're going to see slowly just slowly them start to trickle up these numbers. Tony, I'm going to ask you the same question. Do you think this is something that continues to happen, or do you think this is kind of an anomaly for these 3 guys?
No, I think it's something that continues to happen. I mean, especially when you look at there's always the philosophy of a business. If one team isn't willing to pay you a crap ton of money, another team will. Like if you look at the Dolphins, for example, hey, we'll pay Tyreek Hill a crap ton of money. We're fully prepared to do that. Kansas City's okay. Here you go. We'll at least get something back for you. And kind of like what Joe said, you look at these different receivers. Can they adapt and can they continue to move forward as they get older? Diggs, we know, is great for his route running. He's got solid hands. Not really as much of a speedster, but I would say Diggs probably a little bit more of a longer career to me than, say, someone like Tyreek. Tyreek can make contested catches, but Tyreek's mainly a speedster. Like, you want to throw the deep bomb to Tyreek, and that's how Tyreek beats you, is going over the top and beating the coverage. Adams, little bit of the same. He can be a speedster if he needs to. He's typically a big body. He goes up and contests catches. But again, how does that connection then go with Derek Carr? And especially with the fact that, again, Devontae Adams is the number one guy. He's going to be the number one guy in Las Vegas. Now, that might help him because he's going to have Hunter Renfrow. He's going to have Darren Waller. So they're going to have other guys that they can spread the ball to. But again, how does he deal, away from Green Bay? And I think it'll just continue to be like this as people move forward. Because you think 28, 29, they sign a lot of 3-4 year deals. And then they continue to move forward. That puts them at about 32, 33, depending on. And my cat just puked. That's fantastic. They continue to move on as they get older, and medicine's a lot farther than what it used to be. As long as these guys continue to take care of their body, as long as they continue to do what they need to do, they can very much have a very long term continued success rate. It's just, who's willing to continue to pay them big money, and are they willing to realize if they do get to that point, hey, I'm not going to be able to get, we'll say 27 million by that time. So probably about what they're making now, maybe a little bit more, am I prepared to get this, but maybe only be like a backup role, or maybe be like the number 2 guy behind someone like a Justin Jefferson, behind like a Jamar Chase, these guys that are going to be more towards their prime as these guys are coming to the end.
Yeah, and with the numbers game, it's really interesting to me because the quarterbacks are not getting paid any cheap, like less either, right? You see them get paid big numbers, and these 3 contracts, the one thing they all have in common is the quarterback's cap hit is not a lot. You talk about Derek Carr's cap hit is only $19 million this year. You talk about Tua still on his rookie deal, and even Josh Allen, he did a very team-friendly deal, and he has only $16 million in cap this year. So you talk about teams able to do this. It's saying your quarterback has to either be cheap or be on a pay cut. And to me, that's going to be the situation when you have, guys alongside Patrick Mahomes. I don't see any one of those receivers, even if they draft a guy this year, say they get Jameson Williams and he becomes like Jamar Chase, burst out into the scene and it's time for his contract. I don't see him getting that big time money just because, again, the quarterback is making that much money. In my head, I'm thinking there's got to be some correlation to what the QB is making and what the receiver is making.
Well, and you have to remember too, you look at the last few quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl, most of them have won it on their rookie deal. There's only been a handful of veteran quarterbacks that have even gone to a Super Bowl or gone back to one and continue to win. You look at Manning was able to do it. Well, both Mannings were able to do it. Brady's done it, obviously, like twice at least. All these different quarterbacks, but you look at Russ. Russ did it while he was in his rookie year. He went back, but he hasn't been back since, and he hasn't won one since. Same with Patrick Mahomes. He's been to another one, but he hasn't won one since. So I mean, that's probably your best time is when your quarterback is cheap. You can afford to pay all these guys. You can afford to go out and get your other, pieces of your team. I wonder if there's a team up north that would potentially look at that blueprint of success. Maybe they might be successful with that.
Talk about the Vikings again.
Yeah, exactly. Minnesota, 100%. Stop paying Kirk Cousins. Actually, I want to meet Kirk Cousins' agent because I get new guaranteed money.
Oh, he's the devil. He's actually Satan. It's Satan.
Oh, I got to sell my soul again?
Yeah.
It's going to be like the 3rd time in like 10 years I've had to do that. This is bullcrap.
No, but what you were saying, Tony, was an excellent point where you were saying, well, if a team doesn't want to pay for these players, somebody else will. 2 of the 3 players we just talked about were traded this offseason because their teams refused to pay. Stephon Diggs was traded because he wanted a pay bump. I mean, so really you could say 3 out of 3. It's just been a few years for Diggs. A wide receiver, we talked about aging into the position. A wide receiver who did this really well was Anquan Bolden. He was a number 1 guy. He'd come out. He was super athletic. I mean, don't forget, like Larry Fitzgerald and him were together on the same Arizona team. Like that was a huge thing. Anquan had some injuries. He lost some of his explosiveness and became a really good, solid receiver for those Baltimore Ravens teams later in his career. Now, you don't want to pay that guy $27 million. But what I'm saying is if you can get through these contracts to the end where restructuring happens and all this happens, you can extend your career. Your career doesn't have to end at 32, 33 years old as long as you take care of your body, have some good luck, and be willing to adapt. And what does the NFL passing game look like in 5 years, 6 years? We don't know. I mean, maybe there's not even running backs. Maybe running is down to 30% of the time. Like, we don't know.
Well, and especially whenever you look at quarterbacks now, it's very rare. Well, to me, when you look at it, how often do we ever see a quarterback take a deep shot now? We don't have these like gunslinging quarterbacks anymore. Josh Allen can do it. We've seen Patrick Mahomes. They can do it when they have the right receiver. But for the most part, a lot of these quarterbacks try to be very cerebral. It's very dink and dunk, a lot of slants, a lot of over the middle, a lot of tight ends. So yeah, I mean, if they can learn to kind of be in that role of, hey, you don't have to go get me a 40-yard bomb. Now, if you do, awesome. But that's not what I want you to do. I want you to run a 10-yard slant, get the first down, and then we'll continue to move forward. So I mean, it, like Joe said, as long as they adapt, which I don't think it would be difficult. If you're still a big body dude, you can still go get the ball. It's just no, you're not going to be able to run it. So yeah, I'm going to have you do short curl routes. I'm going to have you probably do bubble screens. I'm going to have you do something that I know you can physically power your way through, and I don't have to have you, run for like 60 yards after you catch it.
Yeah, and to Joe's point, running the football, Buffalo doesn't run the football as it is. If it's not Josh Allen, they don't run the ball. Now, I think they probably should run the football a little bit more, but they've moved away from it. And we thought J.D. McKissick could have fixed that. He said, "No, I want to be back in Washington." To Joe's disappointment. So, who knows where the NFL is going to?
Like, why would you want to go back to Washington? What's in Washington? Nothing.
Well, because I want to answer that because I think J.D. McKissick in Washington can be a third or fourth option in the passing game and running game. In Buffalo, he might be the 6th or 7th.
Yeah. But I mean, it would be a better chance for him to be the true like number one, maybe not the number one running back, but he'd be splitting in running backs.
100%. He would be able to win that group by association. And again, continuing to adapt, we'll see these receivers if they're able to do that. And if they are able to, I think it sets the precedent for future receivers to get that kind of money too. But speaking of people who have to adapt, we saw a bunch of movement around the NFL, including 3 quarterbacks: Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, and Russell Wilson. And all 3, you're talking about teams that you think could at least get to the playoffs and make some noise once they're in there. Of course, Matt Ryan's with Indy, who are just a couple of games out, had their number 1 seed at one point. Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland. We talk about that roster being filled with Pro Bowlers, and you're thinking they could probably be in the Super Bowl. Just a couple years ago, we were thinking that's a Super Bowl roster just waiting for a quarterback. And Russell Wilson going to Denver, and that's the Super Bowl roster that just needed a quarterback for a couple of years. The defense was number 3 in scoring last year. They still have a bunch of offensive weapons. So, Tony, I'm going to start with you. You're going to have to split hairs here. Well, at least I think so. But which quarterback do you think will have the worst season with their new team?
It's going to sound weird, and I'm probably going to get a little bit of hate for this. I'm honestly, I'm going to say Russ. And I say that because I look at the division that he's in. You could probably even say the same thing for Deshaun. Like, Matt Ryan is a for sure guarantee because the only team you got to worry about is Tennessee and 1 away game in Jacksonville. So if you can get at least 2-1 out of the end of that, you're fine. Russ is going into an equally tough division of what he's coming out of, from the NFC West to the AFC West. You have to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs, who, even if they regress a little bit in talent, are still going to be extremely competitive. You're going to have to also face a Chargers team that has a great young quarterback, has great weapons, good running game, now has a pass rushing duo that is going to give Russell Wilson nightmares on that side of the ball. Their run game to me is a little suspect. I don't think, did they re-sign Melvin Gordon, or is he still a free agent?
He's still a free agent, I believe.
Yeah, and they have Williams out of North Carolina, who he was solid, but I don't think he's your number 1 back option. And they haven't really done anything to upgrade the O-line in Denver, which it's not bad, but it's also not great. It's better than what he had in Seattle. Now, they do still have the weapons. They still have Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Judy's coming off of a couple injuries, though. You don't have the tight end game as much because you traded Noah Fant for Russ. And then you also have Cortland Sutton. So, and you have to deal with now a Raiders team who has come into the mix. They got Devontae Adams. They still have Josh Jacobs. Derek Carr is kind of getting a little bit more respect. I think that defense is going to be widely transformed, especially with Chandler Jones now in the mix. And I didn't even mention the fact that the Chargers also got J.C. Jackson on the defensive side in their secondary with Derwin James, who is, I would say, arguably at least a top 5 safety. he's had a lot of issues staying healthy, but for the most part, when he is, he's a phenomenal player. So to me, I say Russ because the AFC West is a lot more stacked to me than the AFC North. Like, yeah, you have to deal with Baltimore, but Baltimore's kind of struggling to find themselves on defense. They're losing players. They're older. They still don't have a wide receiver by anybody's name. And of course, they're down to like their 8th and 9th string running back at this point. And then, you still have to deal with Cincinnati, but, more people are going to recognize that, hey, this is actually a really good Cincinnati team. We're going to have to play significantly harder against this team than what we did before. Now, they did do a really good job to me in the offseason of upgrading that offensive line, but I'm still – people are going to bring the heat against Cincinnati. Like, you went to a Super Bowl on basically – magic money in this magical Cinderella tale that you probably weren't supposed to be on. So people are going to recognize that. And then, of course, you are always going to have the Steelers, who are an in-division rival, and, they quietly had a very good offseason. The quarterback is a little bit of a question mark. Wide receivers are a little bit of a question mark. But, I mean, honestly, to me, Deshaun, I think, has an easier path. Matt Ryan definitely has an easier path to me. I think Russ is probably going to struggle the most out of those three to me.
Joe, how about you?
I'm very angry with Tony. He took a lot of my speaking points and he took my player. So I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to say that while I think Russ struggles the most from a team perspective, I think Deshaun Watson is going to struggle the most on a personal one. You're going to a new situation. It's going to be tough. Your home fans are going to boo you. Road fans are going to boo you. You are in a different organization. You have a lot to prove. You spoke of a target on your back, Tony, in the AFC West with Russell Wilson and this new, Broncos team and everything around it. Deshaun Watson is going to have a target on his back by a lot of people. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the NFL who stand by him and don't think he did anything or all that. That's a whole different issue. But players are going to want to get that shots on him. They're going to, because they know if you're the guy who puts a hit on Watson, you're on SportsCenter. You get the highlights. Oh, look at Deshaun Watson, all that. The first guy that sacks Deshaun Watson is going to blow up on Twitter because it's his first one back. I think he's going to struggle. I like their team. I like what they've done. The offensive line, J.C. Treader was released. I'm not crazy about it. I do like the other parts. Joel Petonio, one of the best offensive linemen in football and all that. I love the running back stable. Kareem Hunt, excuse me, Nick Chubb, all this. But I think Deshaun, again, he's been out of football for a year. By the time he plays, it's going to basically be 18 months since he's had any competitive anything. Like, you just can't turn that on all of a sudden. And I think no matter how much training he does, all that, we still don't know what time he's going to miss. So if you want to look at stats, even if he misses 4 games, well, his stats aren't going to be as good as somebody like Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan. I do want to speak on Matt Ryan real quick. I think he has the chance to have the worst one because Matt Ryan is somebody who everybody's like, yeah, but if he's in a good situation, he still has it. We don't know that. We really don't. Yes, he's in a dome, so it's equal. He's got a better running game, a better offensive line, and a better defense. We know all that, but we still don't know if he's the guy. We thought the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Well, he's got a great running game. He's got a great defense. He's got all this. He didn't have it. 2 totally different scenarios because of the talent and the age. But if Matt Ryan doesn't have it, it's going to manifest itself really early. Or we could get into a Phillip Rivers situation where it looked good for a while, and at the end of the season, you're like, oh, this is why the guy's old.
Yeah, I would say the only difference with Baker is because he's still young. He's gone through 4 offensive coordinators?
Yeah, 4.
Yeah. 4.
I mean,
and I would say with Matt at least did prove himself, even with all the bad Atlanta teams. Matt they were still in contention. They were in contention with really a crappy NFC South division. Really the only team you had to worry about for the longest time was the Saints. The Panthers there for a couple years, and when the Panthers were good, the Saints weren't. And then, of course, Tampa Bay was just down in the basement for all time. So, I mean, I do get what you're saying. I think it'll also depend on what Indianapolis does offensively for him because, I mean, they don't have any – they have 1 wide receiver on the team.
You take another one.
And we take another one.
You take one number 1 and another number 1, and you got Michael Pittman.
We got 1 and 1, which is actually 2, which equals Matt Ryan. So we got Matt figured out.
I feel like we have a boy band hit on our hands right here. We got to grapple with the lyrics.
But But I mean, I definitely see it, and like Joe said, with Deshaun, you're gonna have a lot of rust. Like there's a lot, and to me, honestly, Cleveland's wide receiver room kind of scares me. You have Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples Jones. That's it. You don't have Jarvis. Um, you don't have Odell. And you released Austin Hooper. Like you still have David Njoku, who's solid. He's kind of coming off of an injury year and a year that they were like, we don't really need you. We have Austin Hooper. And then they're like, oh, crap. Our bad. Too much money.
What about you, Amon? Who do you think struggles out of the three?
Well, but I mean, I was gonna say Deshaun Watson, and then you took my answer, Joe. And then so I was like, okay, let me pivot to Matt Ryan, and then you gave all the Matt Ryan points. So I was like, what am I left with here? I said Deshaun Watson originally because of just the time that he's missed. Now, out of the three, I think if everyone's played the same amount of time, probably is the best one out of the three of them right now at the stages of their career. I think he's probably the best one. But him missing a year of football and then probably 6 games, if we're going based off the Zeke route, that's a lot of football to miss. The receiver room is shaky. And again, they can run the football fine, but that division is still going to be tough with Cincinnati. I don't think they're going too far south. Baltimore's always tough for some reason in that division, right? Division rivals always suck. And then Pittsburgh, talk about having TJ Watt and adding Miles Jack. That's a big boost to that defense. And then offensively, I think they'll at least be able to be consistent there. And so I think Deshaun struggles out the gate. But I think Matt Ryan has the biggest opportunity to flop because of what Tony said, in the sense of he has probably the easiest road out of the three. When you talk about it for Russ, if Russ doesn't make the playoffs, be like, man, you have to go to the Chargers and the Chiefs. That's tough, and you missed out because of that. If you're Deshaun Watson and the Browns don't make it, man, you're coming off a year with not playing, a lot of controversy. You start to deal with Cincinnati. The division's still tough. But if you're Matt Ryan, Tony said it. You have 1 away game against Jacksonville and then 2 against Tennessee, and then your division is wide open for you to take. You should at least be a wild card side if you're really looking at the strength of schedule portion of it. So Matt Ryan to me has the most to lose out of this season. Also, you don't have a receiver. He's used to having a lot of receiver talent. Talk about Julio Jones and Mohamed Sanu and Taylor Gabriel or Roddy White back when he was in Atlanta. So they had a lot of wide receiver talent around him. He might not have had the backs for a long time, but at least the receivers and the tight ends were always there. He doesn't have that in Indianapolis. It's going to be totally new. And again, they could always add one in the draft and then get Julio Jones, and maybe that clicks and they could be right back in the mix. But just to throw a third name out there, I'm going to say Matt Ryan just because he's coming into a new situation. He's got to deal with a couple pieces that he's never had to deal with, never not had receivers. And now he has, the ultimate wide receiver. But I think that Matt Ryan has the most opportunity to lose at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, say I was going to ask because the rumors have died down since obviously the whole Deshaun thing has happened, and Baker, has since gone silent and done this like emo 14-year-old girl thing with Instagram saying, anybody wants to come get me, while playing, Boulevard of Broken Dreams by Green Day in the background.
Don't you dare put Baker Mayfield and Green Day in the same sentence.
Don't do Joe like that.
But what does Cleveland do with him now? Because like Amon said, you're looking at again at least 6 games at least, and they haven't traded. They're like, we're not trading you. And like I said, and maybe I'm still crazy. Maybe I'm just trying to force my point. Like I said, I could 100% see them being like, well, you're the starter until Deshaun comes back, and then we'll trade you to somebody else. Take your pick.
I know.
Take it off.
I know that ideally that's what Cleveland wants. They want to get blown away by a trade, which they're not going to. They want to see what happens with Watson, which may be nothing or may take another year. Because the NFL is not going to be doing Cleveland any favors. The $230 million has now put the biggest target on the Teppers that you could ever imagine. Like literally, David Tepper could have walked in and smacked Roger Goodell in the mouth and made out with his wife, and Roger Goodell and the owners would be less mad with him than paying Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed. Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, who nobody ever hears from, came out and said, yeah, it's not the best, because now he has to pay a contract to Lamar Jackson. But back to your point, Cleveland and Baker are done. Like they are the divorced couple living in the same house, and neither one is going to leave, except Cleveland owns the deed, has all the utilities in their name, and has control of the bank accounts. They just haven't thrown Baker out yet. I mean, Tony, it's been talked about that Pittsburgh is interested in Baker. He has a $19 million cap hit. Are you trading a 6th rounder for a $19 million cap hit? No.
Yeah. Well, because if I'm Pittsburgh, you have to entertain it. Because think about it. How much do you trust Trubisky? Like, I think overall Trubisky's better. I do, because I think he has the versatility of he can throw the ball and he can be mobile. Where Baker is pretty much your pocket passer. He'll occasionally break out into the round. But does Pittsburgh want to rely on that more? Does Pittsburgh want the kind of Big Ben, like traditional pocket passing quarterback, like what they've been used to for the last 1,000 years that the Steelers have been around? Like, and again, you said, and it's 19 million. So, I mean,
it's a lot of money.
Yeah. But Pittsburgh also knows too, they get him for 1 year. It's a $19 million hit. It's not like they know that they're not in contention for a Super Bowl. They know this is going to be something that's gone for a while, but what happened? It's kind of one of those, it's like a what if of, if we get Baker, we put a supporting cast around him. Now he has like a fuel to burn Cleveland any chance that he gets. Do they run with it? And, oh, hey, maybe we did actually find our franchise guy. Cleveland just drafted him.
I'm not saying that the Cleveland Browns are the Antichrist. I'm not. But all I'm saying is they are really hoping that when training camps open this season, that a big-time quarterback gets injured. Because this happened. This happened with the Minnesota Vikings and Teddy Bridgewater, where he almost lost his leg. And Minnesota had to give up a first-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles to get Sam Bradford, a quarterback they clearly knew wasn't the future, but they thought they had a team that could be competitive with a stable quarterback. Unfortunately, they thought Sam Bradford was a stable quarterback. But that's neither here nor there. So what Cleveland is hoping is they are putting all the needles in all the voodoo dolls around the league. They're hoping that down in Jacksonville, a team with a lot of cap space, that Trevor Lawrence is lost for the year. Okay, so we're gonna trade for Baker Mayfield because we can absorb the $19 million. He's a free agent next year, and at least we have a pro quarterback who can take our $250 million investment in the offseason this year and try and lead us to a better thing while Trevor Lawrence, and we don't bottom out again. I mean, again, I get your point, but this is the time of year. Teams don't have a ton of cap space. They just don't. And $19 million is a lot to look down. Are you going to restructure future deals for $19 million? I mean, right now, let's say Baker was a $5 million salary. Who in the NFL needs a quarterback? And where is that quarterback upgrade? I can only think of maybe 2 spots. Seattle is a clear one. Mm-hmm. But who else is giving for a $5 million salary? What are you giving up? A 5th rounder? A 6th rounder? Like, who goes and gets him at $5 million, let alone 19?
Yeah, getting Baker Mayfield, I don't know who's going to go and get him, but I think the relationship's clearly done. I don't think there's any there's no reconciling that relationship. I mean, you bring in Deshaun Watson, you're not going to keep Baker Mayfield in town. I think it was John Madden always had the phrase, right? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. And if you have one guy who is basically, he's a vocal dude. He's just not going to sit there with his hoodie on and just, sit in meetings or whatever. He's going to talk. He's going to be aggressive and express himself because that's who he is. That's his nature. That's why you drafted him, because he's supposed to be that guy in the locker room. So he's going to continue to try to be that guy in the locker room. He's going to cause a problem. So he has to go. The teams that would take him, Seattle's one. If you're New Orleans, do you bring him in for $5 million? If he was only worth $5 million, even then, I'm not sure if I'm New Orleans. There's a lot of places you're unsure. I like the Pittsburgh fit. I think it could work because it feels a lot like Big Ben, just with the arm that he used to have. Of course, he's not the Big Ben type of arm, but he has a bigger arm than what Big Ben's been dealing with. But even then, $19 million, I'd rather hold on to Mitchell Trubisky because I can be more versatile. And at least I don't have the injury history I do with Baker Mayfield. There's so many strings attached. Baker is going to be moved, whether he's going to get cut or whether he's going to get traded. But I don't know who is going to make the move for him.
Let me ask you this, and I honest question. Right now, does Baker Mayfield, if he goes to a fringe playoff team, so let's think of the teams that barely missed the playoffs: Minnesota, Indianapolis, places, teams who barely made it, the Raiders, stuff like that. would you switch quarterbacks with would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Matt Ryan? I can answer that. Matt Ryan, because they told the Colts they weren't trading for Baker Mayfield. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins or would you rather have Baker Mayfield? As much as we make fun of Kirk, we'd probably take Kirk over Baker. Would you rather have Derek Carr or would you rather have Baker Mayfield? Derek Carr, I mean, again, like he's a middle-of-the-road quarterback that wants an extension. This isn't Lamar Jackson with an MVP. This isn't Kyler Murray with all of the upside in the world aside from injuries. Like, this is just a guy.
I'm gonna throw a team out there, and I would say it's almost a reach, but I could kind of see it with how non-committed they are to their quarterback room. What about Miami? What if Tua struggles and Miami's like, hey, we'll give Baker a shot because we don't have another option. Tua's a bust. I mean, and 19 million, like. You've already locked up your defense. You've locked up, Tyreek Hill. You've locked up all these weapons. I mean, they could do it.
I threw that name around on ASAP Recap last week, and I said, what if he ends up going there? And again, I can see that happening, but that's, to me, like a trade deadline type of move. To me, I don't think you make that trade until it happens. And so for the Browns, that's no good because if I'm the Browns, I don't want to hold on to him come game 1 of the season. I think the decision on Baker is going to be done before the season opener, before the preseason starts, because the backup quarterback is going to be Jacoby Brissett. That's just the fact of the matter. So to me, Baker's going to be gone long before that happens. Do what I want to see about Miami? I still believe in Tua a little bit. I think more than the average person. And to be honest, I still think Tua is more viable than Baker Mayfield at this point. They're pretty similar, but Tua to me has a little bit more upside just right now, this stages of their career. So again, they could bring him in if Tua struggles, but Cleveland is not going to get a pick for him because he's going to be either sitting at home or on someone else's roster.
Well, and I'll be honest with you, I could still see Miami doing it anyway, even if Tua doesn't struggle. And I say that because now who do they have as a backup quarterback? You look at when Tua first came in, it was bouncing back and forth between him and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Part of it's he struggled. Part of it was injury. You look at last year, Jacoby Brissett had to fill in because Tua got hurt. I mean, he's kind of a injury-prone quarterback. I mean,
well, they brought in Tyrod Taylor. That's the thing. They brought in Tyrod Taylor. So
that was the Giants.
That was the Giants. They brought in somebody. Teddy Bridgewater. Sorry, so they brought in.
Oh, they did bring in Teddy. Okay,
they brought in Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh, I forgot about Teddy B. Okay, I mean,
excuse me, my fault.
Again, Baker's ceiling goes from the best backup in the league to middle of the road quarterback with the right team. I mean, what did we say? Cleveland was a Super Bowl contender. Why were they a Super Bowl contender? Because they had Myles Garrett, because they had a run game, because they had a defense, because they had this. Baker Mayfield was the 6th or 7th reason why they were going to go to the Super Bowl.
He was the number one reason why they weren't going to the Super Bowl. Or being on that list, he was number one.
Again, to me, Baker Mayfield's ceiling is not even Kirk Cousins. And I love slamming Kirk Cousins. But last year, you could argue Kirk Cousins, by every statistical measure and by how they played, was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Baker Mayfield is not that. He's not. And again, the reason he has a $19 million cap hit is because he's the number 1 overall pick, which you assume the number 1 overall pick is going to be with your team for their second contract. We talked about it before. He'd only be the 3rd quarterback to not, take a number 1 overall to not have a second contract. And it's Jeff George and Jamarcus Russell. It's not great company. It's not. So again, it just, to me, Cleveland is going to be a fascinating story to tell in the next 5 to 10 years because they got the number 1 overall pick. They took a guy. It didn't work out. And to fix that mistake, they made one of the most insane NFL trades of all time. We reference the Herschel Walker trade for Tony's Cowboys all the time. We're talking about 3 first-rounders, 3 true first-rounders, not pick swaps, true first-rounders, and $230 million guaranteed. I mean, that would literally be again, the Herschel Walker trade if they were just oh, by the way, we're going to give you a stake in the Minnesota Twins also. It's unheard of. And again, I can't stress this enough, and it's been talked about by reporters much more qualified than I. They've painted themselves as the bad guys of the NFL. They literally looked at it and they said, we don't care what anybody else thinks. We're going to give this guy a ton of money. And you have listen, Josh Allen, He's happy. He's kicking himself. Patrick Mahomes, he's happy. He's kicking himself. Because if they had known this was going to happen 18 months, 12 months, 9 months after they signed their extensions, they would have waited. Nobody thought this could happen. I mean, we saw the Rodgers numbers not even a month ago at 150 million, and we were like, that's insane. Like, the guy's going to be, almost 40 and everything happening, and then Devontae's gone. And then you say, oh, by the way, $80 million more for Deshaun Watson, a guy who hasn't played in a year, even if he comes back. This is, again, like, it's one of the most we're losing the forest through the trees. It's one of the most insane stories in modern sports history that if you were to give all of the owners truth serum, they are so pissed at the Peppers. I mean, insanely mad at them.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you also think about it, too. You look at Cleveland's history. Like, name the last successful Cleveland quarterback.
Bernie Kosar.
Bernie Kosar?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they've been searching for years. You look at, Brian Hoyer, Brandon Whedon, RG3, Cody Kessler, like all these different quarterbacks.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel. Like, all, like, think about it. Even if they're not number one overalls, like, all these first round picks that Cleveland has acquired, like all these top 10 picks, and none of them have panned out for like 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. And it's like, to me, it kind of epitomizes Cleveland, because it's like, hey, we know there is one player that's established at quarterback, and we're going to go get him. And because we know he actually works. This one, he's a bust, kind of epitomizes what Cleveland really has been about all the way up until they drafted Baker, the franchise that can't get it right at quarterback.
And honestly, I'm glad to see them move off of Baker. I think it shows signs of, like, okay, we're not going to stick in the past. And that's what you don't want from your team. You don't want to be like, well, I would rather be okay than bad. It's like, if you're so afraid to be bad to then be good, you're just rather sit in mediocrity. The Browns saw an opportunity to get wildly better at quarterback. They said, all right, what do we got to do to get it done? It's crazy, but we obviously can't draft one. We've tried for 30 years. It hasn't happened. Doesn't matter what GM. Apparently, our building is just a curse for drafting guys. So we ain't drafting one. Let's go get a guy who, when he was playing, last time we saw him, he was a top 3 quarterback in the league, put up legendary numbers, and put him on our Super Bowl roster. So I would have to say respect off to Cleveland for that, for saying, you know what? It's not working what we've done. Let's change it up. Let's try not to be insane, but they did something insane to reverse their insanity.
Yeah, everything you said there is exactly right, Amon. And same thing as you said, Tony. I don't begrudge Cleveland for making the trade. Is it a crazy trade? Of course it's a crazy trade. But when you have this history of quarterbacking in your team's history, that this is what you do. But it's the contract. It's like if you tell your buddies, hey, I just met this girl. It's awesome. We're gonna take a cruise together, and you're like, wow, you haven't known each other that long, but it's like, you know what, you're happy, it's fine, it's a cruise, nothing big deal. And then they come back like an hour later and like, oh, by the way, it's our honeymoon because we just got married, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on, it was kind of crazy that you did the first thing, but you're telling me you're married? And everyone's like, yeah, it's fine, right? Like, it's cool. And it's like, do you know her last name? And it's like, it's just, again, what they did just went so far and beyond, which, again, the whole Baker number 1 overall never made sense. It was all, Amon, you and I talked about this on ASAP Recap. It was, I believe we talked about it. It was one of those things where it was like, yeah, he was the Pied Piper in college. Like, what's the upside? When you take the number 1 overall pick, you just talked about it, Tony. Number 1 overall pick in 2006, Mario Williams. Why did they take him number 1 overall? Because they thought he was going to be Von Miller, because they thought he was going to be Reggie White. They thought he was going to be Bruce Smith. They thought he was going to be this amazing pass rusher. He wasn't, but you took a chance. At best, what's Baker Mayfield? At best. He doesn't have the arm of Josh Allen. He doesn't have the speed of Lamar Jackson. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, but I will say, too, I would say the other franchises, they don't really have a right to be pissed, though, about the fact that they gave Deshaun this much money. Because you think about it, what is every, we'll look at Aaron Rodgers, for example. Look at what Green Bay did. Gave him a crap ton of money. If I'm, again, like you said, if I'm Baltimore, I'm going to be like, you asshats. Like, you gave him a crap ton of money. Now I have to do the same thing with Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the Rams with Aaron Donald a few years ago. They gave him a crap ton of money. So what did the Bears do when they got Khalil Mack? crap, we
a
have
crap
to
ton of
one up that. So yeah, if I'm the Bears, I'm like, damn it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I would say every team has it, but it's like you can't really be mad because it's like, no, this is what we had to do to get this guy. And Baltimore can be mad all they want. They know this type of trend happens. And you look at the type of player that Lamar, you look at the type of player that Patrick Mahomes, you look at the type of player that Deshaun is. They all deserve it because they're able to carry and lift their franchises in that type of way. So the only people they have to be mad at is themselves for not signing them sooner. Like, hey, Lamar, quick, here's 33 million right now. Go. Like they have nobody to blame but themselves.
It's the Dak Prescott situation. It's your favorite team. It's you waited too long.
Exactly.
You have to pay more money. And I will not put a nickel in the jar because I brought up Aaron Rodgers. So Tony, you are nickel free tonight, my friend.
Yes. And hey, I brought it up as a comparison. I did not bring it up to trash talk.
Very good. You are growing as a person.
And that's what we are all about here on Jawing and Volleying. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I hope you guys had a great time. I always have a great time with Tony and Joe. It's been awesome to be on this show this Wednesday night with these two wonderful gentlemen. Guys, any last words before we head off?
Amon has one win. I have one win. Together, 11, baby.
I'm 0-2, just like the Lakers. This is great.
Eliminated from playoff contention. It was Tony.
Literally, not even the freaking play-in tournament.
Hey, we can bring in some ringers for you to bump up your stats for.
All right, well, guys, that's gonna do it for us tonight. And until next time, stay safe, y'all.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.